mother's abandonment that she didn't dare to hold her head high when she went out. Now that her mother had returned, she didn't dare to give herself the right to love. Most of all, to love someone as wonderful as Young-sik. Young-sik's feelings were the most precious feelings she had ever seen. Thinking of this, she immediately went to get a notebook and boldly brought the notebook straight to the police station. This notebook was not an ordinary notebook. To the landlord and the husbands in the neighborhood, it was probably equivalent to a death note. She loudly read out the times she had been harassed by the landlord. She wanted to sue this landlord. In front of the police and the landlord's wife, Dong-baek was no longer the patient girl of the past 6 years. Every word she said made the listener's anger increase, to the point that Young-sik just wanted to fight to the death with the landlord. Knowing that she came to protect him, Young-sik was so moved that he cried. But the landlord refused to admit his mistake, even to death, and even dragged his lawyer wife into the mix. The lawyer wife asked Dong-baek, "If you knew that I was a lawyer, this could be a fierce battle." The wife's words made Dong-baek a little scared, but then she gave Dong-baek her business card and said that if there was any problem, contact her. She would help Dong-baek win the lawsuit. It turned out that the wife was also very disappointed in her husband. She would help Dong-baek sue her husband without taking any money. On the way home, Dong-baek followed Young-sik's mother into the house. She already knew that Dong-baek had feelings for her son, but then she also gave the two of them time to come up with a final answer. Time will bring the answer. A mother would never let her child raise another person's child. This was indeed very difficult. It seemed that Dong-baek would probably give up, so she went to eat dumplings with Young-sik. But she said that she could not have a passionate love with him because she had tried and failed in the past. This made Young-sik understand that he had been rejected again, so he could only sit there sadly eating dumplings. Unexpectedly, Dong-baek's intention was not to refuse. She said that could they not be like fire but just warm? Dong-baek's words made Young-sik almost choke. So after all, with all his sincerity, he finally succeeded in making Dong-baek fall in love with him. At this moment, Young-sik felt like he couldn't breathe. His heart felt like it was about to explode. On the way home, in order for her to stop rejecting him, he even asked to make a promise with Dong-baek. The next morning, to prevent the notebook from being stolen, the landlord's wife helped Dong-baek make a soft copy and told her to tell the whole neighborhood about this notebook. It was truly like a death note for the men here. Everyone was worried about their lives before their wives. After the landlord failed to steal the notebook, he made an appointment to meet Dong-baek. She said that he just needed to sincerely apologize to her. After hesitating for a long time, he finally managed to say sorry, but the apology was not very sincere, so Dong-baek made an appointment with him in court. Walking on Dong-baek's street like a celebrity, her actions suddenly made the wives change their attitudes. Everyone praised her. Since found out he had a child and met Dong-baek again, Dong-baek's ex-lover could no longer stay in one place without taking action. Plus his wife's unreasonableness. The daughter had just been born, but she wanted to study abroad. His wife's unreasonableness and uselessness made him miss Dong-baek even more. He looked back at his son's school. The more he looked at this boy, the more he saw that the boy looked like him. His greed arose again. He went to Dong-baek's pub and seemed to want to get back with her. At this time, Young-sik also appeared just in time. Because he was worried about his girlfriend's safety, Young-sik had someone install a security camera in the pub. Seeing Dong-baek's ex-lover here, Young-sik made an appointment to meet him privately and frankly affirmed that I was the one who brought happiness to Dong-baek and her son. Young-sik tells Dong-baek's ex-lover that you knows your place and should give up. Although he had lived a terrible life, his nature was not too bad. But it was because of him that Dong-baek had a bad impression of men. The obsession with her ex-lover really affected her, so Dong-baek kept comparing Young-sik. She thought that all men were the same. After hearing those words, Young-sik felt a little sad. He thought that if Dong-baek did not trust him and considered him as bad as her ex-lover, then she should not open her heart to him, because he was not like that bad person and did not want to be like that bad person. His anger made Dong-baek realize that she was wrong to compare him to another man, but as long as she held his hand and apologized, he would stop being angry. Young-sik was so blindly in love that he had no shame left. However, this happiness was being threatened. Today, after going grocery shopping with Dong-baek, Young-sik felt like he saw something terrible, so he quickly hugged Dong-baek, wanting to prevent her from seeing. It turned out that the murderer had come looking for her again. Somehow, he had left a creepy red line on the wall, saying that he had told her not to make a fool of herself, that he had been following her since that day. Every word the murderer said made Young-sik extremely worried. Even though there was a camera installed, the murderer was very cunning. He knew the blind spot of the lens and then disabled the security camera. These clues showed that the murderer was definitely very familiar with this pub, but the camera had just appeared yesterday, so he must have been here when it was installed. Even though it was an important piece of evidence, Dong-baek herself did not want to see that line any longer. If this matter spread again, the negative comments from before would be directed at her again. This made her worried about her son. Dong-baek hurriedly went to find her son. Because wanted to protect Dong-baek, so Young-sik asked to follow her, but she wanted him to paint the wall for her. Although she tried to act fine, when she passed through a pedestrian tunnel and saw a drunk man on the side of the road, she was so scared that she clenched her hands and did not dare to continue walking. Luckily, at this moment, Young-sik suddenly appeared. Because he could not bear to let Dong-baek go in such danger, he always followed her and witnessed her fear. Seeing Dong-baek always trying to act strong made Young-sik even angrier because he saw his helplessness. He stopped and held Dong-baek's hand and wiped the sweat off her hand. He told her to never try to act strong again, because from now on, because he would be the one to run to protect her at any time. But who was the killer? In order to investigate the suspect, Young-sik left all the hard work to the police chief and sat down to study the footage recorded by the camera. He meticulously wrote down the names of everyone present that day, including Dong-baek's mother. When he returned to the police station, the police chief reminded him to write down the names of the people who installed the cameras. Only then did Young-sik remember that he had met the landlord at the camera shop that day. Then when he went with the shop owner to Dong-baek's house, he met the gossipy neighbors. Then the landlord's wife, and finally the name of Dong-baek's ex-lover. He wrote down every name, but even after writing them all down, he still couldn't find anything. He swore to himself that he would catch that bastard and make this guy a laughingstock for the world. Dong-baek's mother looked as if she had never been absent-minded. The mother reminded Dong-baek that everyone seemed to be very kind and that Dong-baek should be careful with her own trust. With that, Dong-baek's mother got in the car and left as if she had never been sick. Dong-baek had no choice but to return to the pub alone. But after the horrible things that happened now, when she entered the pub, everything made her feel uneasy. She checked every corner of the pub. Right now, while she was peeling onions, suddenly, there was the sound of someone walking in from behind. It used to be a sound she liked to hear, but now she was extremely scared to hear it. Things became even more difficult. Today a strange fire broke out at Dong-baek's son's school. When arrived, Dong-baek's son was no longer there. She panicked and ran to the police station to search everywhere. When she returned, she saw her son sitting with her ex-lover. It turned out that the two of them had gone to eat abalone together. Only then did Dong-baek get rid of the anxiety in her heart. She could no longer stand and sat collapsed. That night, Young-sik helped her fix the door. He wanted her to rest for a while, but she wanted to protect this pub herself. Although she tried to act strong, she really broke down after today's incident. Young-sik immediately grabbed her hand. Seeing her fear, he was even more determined to catch the murderer. Because Dong-baek was too worried about her son and to continue her business, she decided to move to another city. Her escape made everyone in the neighborhood unhappy. Not the husbands, but the wives, who were always jealous and made things difficult for her. Now that they knew she was moving away, they felt guilty for what they had done. Her move also made Young-sik's mother unhappy, because she had always thought of Dong-baek as her daughter. The concern of the people around her touched Dong-baek, because in the past 6 years here, despite all the difficulties, they still cared for her. This made her a little reluctant, but her son's future was still the most important. Because her son even wanted to end her relationship with Young-sik, because when she left, this relationship would be difficult to maintain. Of course, her words only earned Young-sik's angry. He knew clearly about her feelings for him, so no matter what the cost, he was determined to keep Dong-baek. To do that, he had to catch the murderer before she left. So he put all the small cases aside and focused on investigating the murderer. Young-sik discovered something unusual in an abandoned house. Then from the fire the day before, he also found a suspicious lighter. Was it all related? These things made Young-sik think a lot. If Young-sik's love was a passionate love of youth, then what was the love of ex-lover Dong-baek? Perhaps it was the regret of the past. Too frustrated with the sight of his childish wife asking for money day and night, he remembered the memories with Dong-baek even more. Now, because of the appearance of his son, he was even more bored with the current situation. To escape the boredom from his wife, he withdrew a lot of money and brought it to Dongbak. He even hid it in a box of abalone, but in the end, Dongbak still discovered it. He thought she would throw the money straight at his face, but Dongbak accepted the 30 million won. Thinking about the past, she worked hard to serve him, so this money was considered payment, but saying that, her tears fell again. Seeing the person he once loved deeply cry suddenly, the feeling that had been dormant for so long arose in his heart. He brazenly said, "Come back." He said he would give up everything for her. It was unknown whether this was an old love that came without being asked, or because he was on the verge of divorce that he wanted to get back with Dongbak. But all of this was caught by Young-sik. But unlike usual naivety, Young-sik strongly called Dongbak back to him in front of his rival. He said that she was not someone who would let others decide her life. She should choose the path she wanted. She should be strong. Young-sik's words of encouragement gave Dongbak courage. She told her ex-lover to let go of her hand, otherwise he would surely die. That was the first time she firmly rejected someone. Dongbak's choice made Young-sik extremely proud. She wondered if her choice was right or not. But the trouble was not over yet. Despite being rejected many times, Dongbak's ex-lover still did not give up. He made another appointment with Dongbak and introduced her to a promising school for her son to attend. He even said he would pay all the tuition, but this made Dongbak feel controlled. It turned out that he gave her 30 million won so that he could dictate her life and that of her son. But in the end, he only wanted the best for his son. He was afraid that once everything was exposed, the boy would not be able to withstand the backlash from the online community, which would be truly terrible. However, Dongbak firmly refused and denied his identity as father of her son. But he was also very stubborn and blamed Dongbak that if she had not left on her own, things would not have been as chaotic as they were now. But perhaps he had forgotten that the reason for their breakup was not because of his mother, but because of him. Dongbak's ex-lover was originally a country boy, but thanks to his talent for baseball, he became more and more famous. While Dongbak only knew how to stay at home and do housework every day, he kept moving forward. Therefore, the distance between them grew further and further. He himself, when standing at the peak of his fame, was easily swayed by outside temptations. The climax of the breakdown was when Dongbak learned that she was pregnant. To test him, she took out a fake pregnancy test. Unexpectedly, he was very calm because he thought that he and she were too young to accept this fact. But Dongbak argued that there were many people out there who were also very young, but they were still successful as fathers. He was 27 years old, but said he wasn't ready. It wasn't that he wasn't ready to have a child, he just wasn't ready for her. Dongbak left so that the child in her womb wouldn't have to endure heartbreaking words. She also intended to give up this child, but the love of a mother and the bond between her and the child made her want to become strong to protect her child. When heard everything, her ex-lover completely collapsed. She told him to never see her son again and never step foot in their lives again. Dongbak closed all the doors to the past. She wanted her and her child to move forward into the future and wouldn't foolishly return to that terrible past. Her ex-lover thought that she couldn't be happy because she was influenced by Young-sik. But Dongbak responded very decisively that Young-sik was the one who always said she deserved to be happy. Now Dongbak seemed to have become a different person. After shedding all the weakness and self-consciousness she had carried with her for the past few years, she looked at life with a confident gaze. When got home, she saw Young-sik waiting for her. Young-sik saw her and scolded her and asked her why she was out so late. Did she know it was dangerous? Seeing him, she felt more motivated. Dongbak said that she would not let herself be bullied anymore. The one who was bullied was weak, so she would not do it again. Dongbak was determined to face everything herself. After saying that she would go say goodbye and roll out the red carpet for guests. From now on, she would welcome all guests in the world. Dongbak's confidence and joy were like a sweet light shining straight into Young-sik's heart. He was so happy that he went crazy. He shouted, "How could she be so beautiful?" So happy that Dongbak immediately ran over, held his hand and kissed him on the cheek. The gentle kiss made Young-sik extremely excited. This policeman had just said yesterday that he would not touch Dongbak, but just one kiss from her. He had the courage to place a kiss on her lips. The two of them finally held hands, marking a love that blossomed like camellias in spring. Dongbak seemed to want to change her current appearance. Now, Dongbak seemed to be living as herself. She put on gorgeous makeup and wore a red dress and high heels. She was already outstanding. Now she shined even brighter. Dongbak not only changed the way she dressed, but also bought an old motorbike, even though she didn't know how to ride it. But the joy didn't last long before sadness came again. This time it wasn't Dongbak's sadness but her 8-year-old son. Dongbak's ex-lover, despite being warned many times by her, came to visit her son today. today. Seeing the boy's scratched face, he did not hesitate to run over and ask,